Okay, all right. It is time to get back into the kit. It's been a little while. You know, work my 9 to 5 like most people that take care of things. Then I got a cold or sinus infection or something. Mostly over that. And looking at a weekend here. I don't even know what the first step is, but I figure I might need a box. Let's see. Let's get right into it. First step, tail pitch slider assembly. Interestingly, this starts with a tail. I don't recall ever starting a helicopter kit with a tail. It usually always starts with either the landing gear or the frame. No, that's not it. There we go. Is that it? Yeah, bag 1. And then I'm going to, you know, look ahead here. 2. So it looks like, yeah, that's cool. Step 1 is the entire tail assembly. Oh, I forgot. It's in the part of the tail is in the CNC assembly, as the instructions say here. Looks like we pretty much have to take everything out here. Yeah. Okay, tail. So what do we have? I hope you don't mind. I don't have any music going or any sounds of note. I've heard enough music in my life and watched enough TV shows in my life. I don't need to play anymore. I often don't even remember what I watched when I finished watching it. Sometimes even while I'm watching it. Alright, now some of this may already be... Okay, so this part, the instructions specifically state that, and in fact it says, important note, this part, for tuning reasons, comes factory pre-assembled with grease and Loctite. It is ready to use. That's pretty much universal. That's almost always the case. Next thing, so that's just the pitch ring slider thing. So this will go on the tail shaft, and this is freely rotating, and you can see there's a obvious channel here. That's where the pitch slider, this thing, will grab it and can move it to change the pitch of the tail blades. Pretty cool, huh? It's already got the insert tail slider bushing. Alright, so that's all done. Even those are assembled. That's cool. Usually have to assemble those, I guess because it's so small. And it is a premium kit. Let's see. Okay, now wait a minute here. This comes pre-assembled without thread lock in caps. So, thread lock. I noticed when I watch some of my videos, I have a tendency to pop my lips. I don't know what that's called. I guess it's a thing I do. I don't know if I ever knew I did that, or if it's just a thing I do because I'm making a video, which I can't imagine why I would. So it's probably something I've always done. Just never noticed. Anyway, so if you notice or hear me popping my lips sometimes, you know, idiosyncrasy, you know, little weird things that people do. Doesn't mean anything. Alright, so since this is rotating, everything's balanced. Yeah, you want one side, right? Yeah, the screws go in opposite directions. That is all a part of balance. So I'm going to tighten it, not tight, but you know, cinched in with the Loctite, and it's properly spaced so that even when it's tight, yeah, no tension at all. First step done. It already had the bushing in there. Super. So that's all for that part. Cool. I don't need the stickers and all that and all that. I don't know why. Set this aside. Okay, this guy. Oh, cool. This is for tuning reasons, comes pre-assembled with grease and Loctite, ready to use. How cool is that? So all those little micro shims and bearings and all that is already in there. Super. And it has the tail blade screws, bolts, as it were, already in there, so we know where they're at. So I'll take that and set them aside here. Oh, does that mean everything is? Let's see. Okay, the thrust washer, the shims, okay, everything's in there. Now this doesn't have, yes it does. It does have the roller bearings. Okay. All right, well, if it says it's done, it's done. I'm just going to go with it. I don't have any reason to not trust a factory build. All right, if you buy a used helicopter, I always redo it. I don't care how much anyone says, oh, it's been professionally assembled. I don't care. I'm going to do it myself. And I have almost always either been surprised or at a very minimum, it could use a clean and some fresh grease installed. Now, actually, that's one point. This is 2018. This is pretty old. Tell you what, yes, it's old, but it's never been used and it's been in a package. So we're going to fly it as is with the expectation that before very long I will perform maintenance, which is something you have to do with all these anyway. But yeah, that's tight. Cool. That's not very tight. Yep, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, if this was a much larger heli, I would, you know, probably do a little bit more. But for such a little teeny tiny guy, and the truth of the matter is, it's not like I'm going to have this out every other day. My 700, I fly it a lot. Like, when the weather's right and health is good, I may fly it. And we're talking about just one helicopter. I have several. My 700 Il Goblin Pro, I probably fly at least 10, upwards of 25 flights a week. Possibly even more than that. And that's just one heli. I fly my 800 pretty regularly. That new 520 Pro, I fly it very regularly. And then since I did the refresh on the direct drive Raw 420, I've been flying that a lot. The Genesis I fly a lot, so you know, that's quite a lot of flights a week on those helis. This one I won't be flying all that much. Okay, so tail hub assembly. Oh, I see. I misunderstood the instructions. Well, that's why we read instructions. Okay, so what it's saying is that the radial bearings for the tail grips are installed with the Loctite, but the tail hub is not installed with Loctite. So all the parts are there. properly installed but no Loctite. So that's okay. We will go ahead and do that now then. That is, well, see, reading is fundamental. That's why we read the instructions. Technically speaking, after you've built many of these helicopters, you could pretty much build it without the instructions, but you read the instructions anyway because you just never know what special thing they may want you to do. Special care. Let's take this apart minimally. If I don't need to take it apart, I won't. Not because I'm in a rush, but I just don't want to create extra steps for myself for no real benefit. So it's a lot easier to do this, the tail hub uninstalled on the helicopter, because I can just put a shaft right through there and take these screws out. These are opposing screws, so once it's installed, taking out opposing screws can be rather difficult because one will always want to turn. Put that back on there. So all I'm doing is adding Loctite to the thrust bearing screws, bolts, whatnot. Holds the whole tail grip hub assembly together. Okay, now that is done. Not too tight here. This is aluminum. Alrighty, I don't know if the ball links are Loctite. No, they are not Loctite, I can tell. It's too smooth. So we'll get that. Put that back. And again, on helis, I often will degrease everything. However, since these are pre-assembled, I don't expect that there'll be much, if any, machine oil on them. Usually when you're pulling screws out of a bag, they'll have machining oil on them. Not that these couldn't, but I'm just a little less concerned in this case. Okay, that is done. Yep. Just kind of scanning through the instructions, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, I see. Yeah, those are tight now. That was not tight before. Okay, good thing I double checked. Next is, boy, this thing moves along quickly. We're already into tail shaft. So this is bagged. And I bet you, yeah, I can tell just by touching it, has machine oil on it. So I put that on there to prevent corrosion. That's why it's bagged. Not a lot, but there's a bit of a film. You can just feel it. All right, cool. This is assembled and ready to use. Bada bing. Now we need pre-tensioner. It's misspelled. T-E-N-T-I-O-N-E-R. It should be T-E-N-S-I-O-N-E-R, tensioner. Unless that's some sort of other language thing I'm unaware of. Which, you know, fair enough. Okay, that was the thing I found in the unboxing that was really neat. There it is. This little bearing assembly. Now we get to see how that's done. I know at this point it kind of looks like I just have random parts everywhere, but it will come together. All right, so wow, this is 2 bearings on a shaft screwed in there, and it does not have Loctite, so we will, and you can tell because it's very, very loose. With blue Loctite, which for those who don't know, thread lock, Loctite. Loctite's a brand. Thread lock is what it is. It's just glue. It's just glue for metal. And blue, most commonly used, is a light glue that is fairly easy to break its bond, but you'll know of its presence because the bond will be a little tight at first until you pop it, and then it will be rough. Like the threads will feel rough because what it has a tendency to do is be gummy, which is good because, you know, anti-vibration. If the threads are, you know, super clean and loose metal on metal, it can vibrate right out, where if it's gummy, you know, gooey, it's less likely to vibrate out, even if the lock has been broken, as it were. Okay, so I don't know how I'm going to get that out because these are, that's funny. Well, how do you get this out? We have opposing screws here, so loosening this loosens the other. We have bearings here which roll. Now I could take the bearings off, but I don't want to squeeze that shaft. That's going to leave a mark. And since these bearings are a precise fit, that I don't want to put any tension on that shaft. So I'm not sure exactly what they want me to do here. I suppose I'll just have to be incredibly careful. And what I could do is, on my pliers, I have a smooth part there. I don't want to put it on the teeth. Oops, that screws on there. So, okay, just a little light tension. Alright, I think what I'll do is skip ahead to where that gets installed because I don't want to have to go back and forth with that. And it looks like it's going to get installed onto the tail fin itself. And it's done so before the installation on the helicopter. Shows it like this, goes through that hole, and I will put, so I'm going to clean that screw just a little bit. It may have some oil on there. That's a fairly long screw. Yeah. What I'm doing here is removing some excess. I want it in the threads. I don't want it to bulge past the thread so much. I just want it in the threads, but completely coated. Alright, so again, I'm going to put it on the smooth part of the jaws and just do some light tension. Since roller bearings are going on this, I don't expect that, you know, this isn't going to go flying off. And let's see, the belt will be coming this way. So yeah, even with the direction of travel, it's not loosening, or rather in a loosening direction, it's in a tightening direction. So let's put some thread lock back on that screw since we had it back out. It's a very short screw. Actually, since this is such a tiny screw and it goes right up against the bearings, I want to get all of the excess thread lock off. So that's only within the threads. That's how you keep it from squeezing out. I'm holding this up against a white background so I can tell. Yeah, I don't want any excess thread lock to come out and get in the bearings. And I just thought of something actually. Since these are opposing, unscrewing them are nigh impossible, but screwing them together will work. together. Okay, perfect. Done. Oh, I forgot I sanded that. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, compared to this, where I didn't sand it, oh, that's so nice there. Yeah, I'm so glad I did that. Sand your carbon fiber. Much better fit and feel. Okay, so that part's done. We finally got our first part screwed to another part. All right, now we need to Loctite this guy. So all that's going to be are these two, and that third is the servo control link ball. Bit of Loctite there. And for these metal to metal, I'm not going to worry about excess. We'll just screw it on as is. Let the thread lock, well, you know, wipe it off a bit with my shirt. Since I'm a grown man, I can wipe my food and my glue on my shirt and no one can say anything about it. It's my shirt, I bought it. That is not the right size. Well, what did I do? Did I put this together all wrong? No, it's just not the right size. Interesting. Yes, it is. I just don't know what I'm talking about. Where it fit a lot tighter than I was expecting. Okay, pop. Well, that was a lot. Okay, take a little off there. Thread lock is inexpensive. We can waste a little. Okay. And now these are steel screws going into aluminum, so just tensioned, you know, not tight. You got to think of the scale of it. What might seem tight to your hand strength will very easily strip out this soft aluminum. So basically cinched. All right, 1, 2, 3, and these will probably get Loctite at some point. It's funny. It shows taking the screws out and putting Loctite on them. I should say thread lock. Loctite's a brand, but it needs to be attached to something before, like this. There we go. It goes right there, but it doesn't show it in the picture yet, so we'll just skip ahead. No problem. That's not a big deal. I imagine it's just demonstrating that those will receive thread lock. Aha, we're getting somewhere in the instructions. Let's see, the tail aluminum bit. All right, so this guy, the bell crank assembly. I can't speak tonight. It does look like it is, there's no up or down. It is symmetrical. Take these two screws out. I'm realizing this black towel here with these black screws, little counterproductive. All right, make sure we get the orientation right. So this side is smooth and this side has the graphic and all the little shapes and indents on it. So the picture shows it like this, with this going that way. Oh, it's got little dimples or nipples or whatever you want to call it. They're very, wow, that is tight on there and it cinched right in. Beautiful. It's nice when something is machined, or when the tolerance, I should say, is very tight. So now we'll thread lock these, install. Man, this is these two parts with the two screws, these are never going anywhere. I mean, this is like tank, military grade is what I was thinking. That is never coming out of there. I mean, it'll be easy to uninstall, but goodness, that is robust. Okay. So, all right, things don't necessarily come together on this page. Let's look at the next. Okay, a lot's happening here. They already have us working on the belt. I see, that makes sense because a lot of this stuff, there's sub-assemblies, and then, you know, you work on those sub-assemblies and then it just all comes together. Now, one of the things I'm going to need is the belt. And what I did not do, I did not pre-condition this belt, and I will show you how I'm going to do that. I need a Ziploc bag. This is just a random Ziploc bag that's clean on the inside. That's important. It doesn't have to be like lab, you know, clean, but just clean. All right. Belt, tail belt inside of there. And then somewhere very close by, there it is, I have WD-40 silicone quick drying oil. So, I don't know if you shake this or not, do you? Shake can well. Yes, you do. Is there something in there? No, that was on the outside. So, I'll show this on camera because this is easy to keep clean. I'm going to take the bag and seal it up except for one little part. And I'm only doing this just to keep it clean. There's no reason to keep the air out of it. Ah! I say that. Alright, spray it carefully. It doesn't need a ton. Not that too much will hurt it. And then seal it up. Okay, make sure it's very, very well sealed, because we're then going to mush it around. Now, actually, I'm doing this slightly wrong. Let's open this up, and I'm going to put it under the towel. I want to squeeze as much air out as possible, or, you know, as easily possible. There we go, that's better. So that the oil gets pushed around in there. Now, obviously, if you're not getting it completely saturated, you can just add more oil. But now, normally what I do is I'll add that on there, or, you know, put the belt in the oil and start doing all the stuff I did, but I didn't think of that. So I'm not going to worry about it. Like I said, this isn't some super competition helicopter that's going to be flying 30 flights a day every day for a couple of seasons. So now that the belt is completely saturated in silicone oil, is it silicone? Look at the can here. I always get ends with an E, silicone, whatever. It's not the silicon that goes in your computer, silicone. Trying to pull it out with a towel and not my fingers. I don't think silicone oil is toxic, but still. Alright, got most of the excess off. So now I'm just going to take a very clean towel, even though it looks dirty. It's just a trick of the camera. It's very clean. And I'm just going to run it through here. Careful not to crease the belt. And I'm not rubbing all of it off. Of course, if you have it well saturated, you can't rub it all off. It's going to soak into the pores of the belt regardless. Alright, there we go. Now we have, smells like silicone. We have a treated belt. Now this takes some experience to learn. I'm going to show you a trick after I peek ahead of the instructions and double check my math to make sure I'm not completely wrong. So let's see, rotate belt to show. The vast majority of radio control helicopters, not all, but the vast majority, when the belt, let's say the nose is that way and the tail is that way, the belt will of course be situated like this, and helicopter blades rotate this way, all right, clockwise. So the belt will be rotating clockwise, pretty easy to picture. The tail will be rotating counterclockwise. And to do that, we rotate the belt 90 degrees. So when it rotates clockwise, the top of the belt is going towards the back of the helicopter, and the bottom of the belt is pulling towards the front of the helicopter. The reason why that's important is belts will have writing on them. And while not all belts are directional, some are. They won't necessarily always tell you they are. So you want to situate the belt so that it is upright when rotated under the main shaft, if that makes sense. All right, so with that in mind, when we insert it into the tail boom, we can then keep it straight. Even if it doesn't require a direction, I personally find it's a good idea to be consistent in your setups. If you always do the same thing every time you do one of these, your results will be predictable and you will find fewer surprises. Interestingly, with that vein of thought, if you do something different every time and there's no rhyme or reason to what you do, when you find a problem, you will have absolutely no idea where that problem lies, and will often have to go back and redo absolutely everything. You'll continue to do this until you establish some standard, so that when you do have a standard and you find a problem, you will often be able to slowly disassemble things and find something that deviates. That is to say, it doesn't fit the standard you've set, and you'll often find your problem there. We set standards not because it means there won't be a problem. Rather, we set standards because we expect there will be problems and we have no idea where they'll be. So with a standard, we have a greater chance of discovering where those problems lie. All right, so this, okay, I will be right back. I have a tool for this. I usually use this for airplanes. All I have is just I don't know what this is, 1/2 millimeter wire. It's not flimsy, it's a little bit flexible. I have a hook on it, and I have it taped to a bamboo skewer. And that's probably too big for this tail boom. Maybe not. Okay, it won't go all the way through. However, if I temporarily remove these bits here, it will go in there no problem. So let's set this stuff aside here. We'll take our time. And when I take these screws out, I'm going to set them in roughly the orientation I remove them in, so that I don't have to guess where they go. Now, nicely, let's see. I just took off these two with the orange washers, and the biggest difference I can point out is that this pushrod guide is going this way. So I'm going to remember the washers are on this side, because this side does not have washers. And I still have not set my screen timer. You know what? Let's do that now. It should take mere seconds. I believe that would be under display settings. We'll go to, this is not it. Okay. This is not working so far. mild frustration. I am not seeing. Is it under power? Well, ugh. I'll just wiggle my mouse. Whatever. I don't feel like diverting the focus enough to find that setting currently. Alright, so 4 screws out, 4 screws together. I don't know what this is. Oh, okay, cool. Just an aluminum bit that provides internal structure for the tail. Great, so now I can take the tail belt. Oh yeah, let's make sure which side is up and which side is down. So that's up. So I'm going to hook it like a shear. Well, there we go. It falls out. Okay, how about I put my hook in first, then take the belt and put it there. I can easily pull that through. There we go. Quick solution. Put that in the tool chest. Now, I'm looking through the tail boom to make sure I'm not all twisted up here. Alright, so that's not twisted. I want to make sure it's not inside out or anything, because it is currently. There's my writing. Now it might seem like I'm going through a lot of trouble to get the belt straight, but you know, if I forget about this and then put the whole thing together and then realize, wait a minute, how is the belt situated? This helicopter is small, so everything is easier while it's in pieces. Okay, so now I have the belt completely untwisted and straight, parallel, the right way in the tail boom. Okay. Oh, I see. So this, I needed to take that out anyway. So I accidentally did the right thing. That happens sometimes. So we have the writing here, and I'm going to go ahead and do my twist. So again, it's rotating this way, clockwise, and I need the top of the belt to go towards the tail. So I've turned it 90 degrees, and now I'm going to pull the belt from the other end, keeping it straight. All right, that worked out well. Do we put... It's funny, it's suggested. We suggest using a length of wire or similar to pull the belt through the boom. We beat you to it. I already knew that. Okay, I'm trying to see if I'm supposed to... Oh, I see. Yes, we do thread lock it, but that is a later step. So, belt is in, the tail case center is in. Now is when we actually start assembling this thing. So this is a tail case cover. Cool. I was wondering, you know, in the unboxing, I was very curious what that part was. So one side has a gold washer and one side does not. And the tail case spacer is not symmetrical. After finishing this step, OXY logo's position as shown. Oh, look, there is a logo on the back of that. Man, that's very tiny. I'm going to hold this under a light. Okay, so that is right side up with the washer going that way, which that does make sense with the picture I'm looking at in the instructions. So we'll take this out. We will add the thread lock, go through the aluminum into the spacer. That is very elegant. I like the way they did that. So this is fitted to the aluminum. Very cool. So that's the back end of the tail. And there's no play there. That's very tight. Cool. All right, so then let's do the tail shaft. Also go through like that. Now the tail belt will go in there. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Just give a little slack. Well, let's pull it out this way. Oh, now I can't get that out. Pushed it in too far. All right. Make sure it's the right way. I had it upside down. Hook that around the tail shaft, and we can see the belt writing is in the right direction, like a shoe. And then I think we'll take this here. Yeah, so we'll take this other screw out of the, what do they call that? Tail case cover. Take that screw out with the golden washer. Now you see why this little build towel is so important with all these little screws and washers and things. You want a soft table, not a hard table, not glass. Do not build this on a glass table with no mat. Stay on screen. Okay. This is about to come together and be a little less messy. In 3, 2, 1. Alright, so we have that spacer on the inside. It's all lined up. I doubt the camera can pick that up, but I can see it glinting with my eyes. This goes on the other end of the tail shaft, capping that off. Come on, get in there. There we go. Oh, I had it up too far. Okay. I still have it up too far. So we'll take this screw. Well, I guess I'll have to set it down. That's what it is. We're going to do thread lock. And if it looks like I'm holding my hands funny for the camera, I kind of am, but at the same time, I'm actually holding it in light for the camera and myself, so we can both see it well. Oh, come now. So that is not going in at all because I'm misaligned. So what I've got to do, I'm doing such a terrible job here. How about this? Let's just let that go down. There we go. The tail does not need the boom in it necessarily to get this part done. All right. So now I can pull the tail belt tight a little. There we go. Double check the instructions. I don't see any reason not to do the screws. So the side without the washers makes sense, goes on the aluminum. So thread lock. See if I can, yep, I can see through these screw holes, I think. That's what I'm seeing. Pop that into place. So it's going through, I'm nowhere near. Okay, let's hold that out. Okay, realign there. There we go. Should not have to fight it. Should just go right in. I did not make that tight at all, just ran it down a bit. Same here. Not tight, just down all the way until just. Now this side gets the washers as it's going against the carbon fiber. Very cool, thoughtful design. I can't wait to look at that once it's screwed in. I really like how they chose to do that. Let go. All right. As small as this isn't super small. This isn't tiny, tiny. This is pretty good size. Okay, basically I want to make sure everything is square. It's on there. There's nothing loose. And I'll go ahead and tighten it up. Now this is all aluminum, so just done up. No, I mean just, I barely call that tension. Just tighten right up to the last bit and just a little squeeze. All right, cool. So belt is free. I'm going to look inside. And I don't know if you'd even be able to see that, but we're going to try. But inside of the tail boom, we can see all the way through. You know, if I had a light to put, I don't. Oh well, I didn't think of that before. So anywho, yeah, the tail belt is straight in there. I do have it the right direction. And now, cool, there's the tail. Very nice. Now, the tail pitch slider, you get to see what that is. Super easy. Just pops right on. And it is the tail pitch slider. Haha, it slides. Go figure. Now this part, now you can see how this works. We'll go, now I'm confused. So I know the arm goes under. Oh, I see. Yeah, so there, okay, like that. So we'll take these screws out. It's really cool to see these come together. We had a bunch of strange bits minutes before. You do work on the strange bits, and then with a little awkward assembly, bam, you have a working component. So this is going through a bearing into aluminum. So I'm going to put the thread lock along the entire length of the screw and then take off all of the excess. I only want in the threads. So it'll pass cleanly through the bearing and then only thread lock into its mate. Now actually this I don't need there right at the moment. Since there's nothing blocking off there, I can take it off. That's a steel screw going into aluminum, so not much tension. This is why thread lock is so important. These screws do not get a lot of tension on them, so the thread lock is really important because it's not like you're going to mechanically tighten the crazy out of these things. All right, so yep, freely moving, very smooth, no play at all. Very well engineered. Tail slider. What's cool here is so you can see it pivots within the range, but since it's not capped off yet, it can just go all the way. So the tail pitch slider will go on, then we can align it, and now it's captive. See? And it would come off, of course, if it could go all the way, but it won't be able to go all the way because we will now take this and install this. This is going to be a grub screw. Pull that out. And then, again, all helis do this. The side with the printing will go on the outside. And the hub doesn't matter, except for the grub screw does. It needs to be on a side you can reach. Oh no, it doesn't matter because that's going to rotate, so it will always be reachable. All right, so make sure the grips, printing's on the outside, and then they're opposite each other. As you can see, once it goes on a shaft, if they're both this way, they would lock the shaft. So opposing each other, and then take that, pop it onto the shaft. Well, okay, let me show you what I'm doing. This right here, these are going to pop onto these ball links, like so, pretty much. But in order to get that installed without those being in the way, I'm going to make sure I line these up properly, like I had before. Line this up properly, and set it down. Then, it's not screwed in yet. I'm going to rotate it around, get these links up and around, so now they are just floating by the ball links where they need to be. And because this is so small, I'm not going to use ball link pliers because it's tiny. I'm just going to carefully take these pliers here and pop it on the back of the aluminum, well, the ball cups. I don't want to scratch it up or scuff it up. Just take my time. They should just pop on there. Until they're both on, the tension will be a little off. There we go. So now I have both of the ball links on. Now, without the grub screw, it's just floating around. We'll go ahead and put a little thread lock on there, just a touch. And I more than likely will have to adjust this later, but for the moment, we'll go ahead and put this on. Rotate it around till I can find that. Make sure. So the basic setting will be to have the hub flat with, oh, I gotta see, is there a, I don't know if there's a flat spot on this. If there isn't a flat spot, I probably want to add one at some point in time, but there is a flat spot. Okay, glad I checked. You can see a flat spot there. That should be easy to see. Little divot. That's where we want to put the grub screw, and it's pretty simple to do. Once you tighten it on a little bit, I'm going to then back out and kind of wiggle it, make sure it's properly seated in there in the lowest part. Tighten a little bit. Okay, let's look at our work. Ha 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 ha. That is silky smooth. Yep. So now you can get an idea of how this works. So the tail pitch slider, so that's a neutral pitch going either direction, just like so. And then with the belt, it's going to be rotating that way, counterclockwise. If you're looking at it from the side, like so. Okay, that is our first structure of this helicopter. That's pretty nice, I'll have to say. Here's our tail pitch control rod. I'm not going to install it yet because I don't know exactly, what I'll need to do before then. But yeah, I'm happy with that. That's very, very clean, very nice, and also shows it's not a teeny tiny helicopter. It's got a fairly decent size here. All right, super. What's next? Okay. It has, the push rod guide. Well, how strange is that? It's a pin screw to it. To install. They're installed counterclockwise. Why? Interesting. So I'm not exactly sure what it wants us to do. I have no idea. They pop on. I don't know. Either way, it's installed already. I don't see any reason to take that off. This is plastic and aluminum, so there's no thread lock on there. So, yeah, looks fine. There's a whole page of instruction about that, I guess, if you needed to do maintenance. So, that's fine. The plastic terminals and carbon fiber push rod come pre-assembled with Loctite and ready to use. Good. Yep. Okay, that's all good. Done. We are already up to the tail servo. Sweet. It's nice to install the tail servo. So I've got the Tareq CL, I don't know if it's a 0 or not, 306T. This is a modern tail servo. It's a micro servo. This is new. I've never used it. I had it for something I don't recall what exactly. Or no, I remember. I accidentally ordered it. I meant to order a mini, and I got this micro. Excuse the pause. I believe I probably already mentioned that I figured when I got it accidentally that I would probably find a use for it one day. So I just kept it because returning it just didn't make sense. It's just a few dollars. And why put it in a truck going across America to return a part for a few dollars? That's silly. All right, so we need the tail servo aluminum bits. Das ist. And we're going to, ooh, and it does. I was hoping it has the screws already like the rest of the build, and it does. So it shows the boom in this configuration with the tail servo in that configuration. These supports go in this way. All right. I imagine I'll have to loosen these screws a bit. Oh good, they're not pre-tensioned. Since these are tension screws, they will not use thread lock. Let's put that in a safe place so I don't get thread lock all over my table. So this is a very easy installation. Should slide on rather easily, yeah. And good. They're not so tight that it will scratch up the finish on the aluminum boom. This boom being black is anodized black, which is a coating that's fairly strong, but not, you know, bulletproof. And sharp aluminum bits would tear it up. So, all right, that's on correctly. Correctamundo. So then these screws that are already on here are for the servo themselves, which will be thread locked. And yeah, so these little micro servos have 3 holes, 2 and then 1 slot. This calls for just one in the center, front and back, which is perfectly fine for this setup. I'm not going to thread lock it yet because since these mounts, as you noticed, slide on, I don't want to get the servo mounted in a rigid manner before I get its position properly done, because that will scratch the boom up. So I'm just going to have it just screwed in loosely. And it gives a measurement. This is 63 millimeters from the end of the, but you know, we'll see. So I have it tighter on one end than the other. I want to be able to really easily slide this without hurting the boom. Okay, I'm fine with that. That's all we need to do there. What was this for? Oh yeah, this is the servo screw, which I probably won't be using that, but you never know, I might. We'll just stick it back on there. I didn't need to remove that. And now, oh yeah, these screws for the tail blades, I need to put that back on. I removed those so that I could tighten the hub. So let's just put that back on there so we don't lose them. That may very well finish the tail. I swear the screen going off is the feature of the video. Those are the action bits. All right, so let's clean up. We've got bags and bits that we don't need. We'll throw it in the little bin I've got there. and make sure our screwdrivers and all that stuff are right. Boom. First part done. What's next? Lower bearing block assemblage. It does not say assembly, it just says assembly. I added the assemblage for fun. Okay, bearing is pushed in. It's pre-assembled with Loctite. That's their word. So whether or not they used Loctite or not, I don't know, but that's what they said they did. So we need this. And now we get to find out what these parts are. I have no idea. I still don't know. Breakaway canopy mount. That's what that is. So there's 2 of those. We need, what does it say? Box 2, bag 6. Okay, that's here. It'd be nice if it's just that bag. And yeah, so I think we can set this aside for now. By the way, I have no idea how long I'm going to be doing this tonight. Let's see, how long have we been filming? I can't tell. It's been an hour. Wunderbar. Okay, well, a little longer. Like I said, I'm going to take you along for this entire build, so be prepared. I did try to break it up there in the beginning with a couple of preparatory videos, but I think we all knew that at some point in time we were going to have to get into the nitty-gritty here. Alright, so canopy mounts. We have 2. We've got 2 particular kinds of screws. Those are square head cap type, and these are button type. Then we have 4 gold washers. I don't know what those are yet. So, looks like the 2 square hex cap, they call them. That looks like this goes down, and this goes in the center. It does not say thread lock. I'm going to assume thread lock. Why wouldn't you put thread lock on any metal to metal at any point in time? So, through the center hole. That's rather taut. Interesting. With 1 mount. It looks as though they want the hole in the mount going up and down along with the longitudinal portion of this carbon fiber bit. I'll do the best I can to make it parallel. That's not easy. Nice if I could put something in there to turn it. I'll have to do it with care, I guess. Okay. Lightly tightened. Same here. So I mentioned I wasn't playing music. Oh, that one went a little better. I really didn't know it had been an hour already. Like I love this. I don't need music. This is entertaining enough. Even if I wasn't speaking, although, not gonna lie, probably talk to myself a little bit while I build these. But yeah, you could probably hear the cicadas out my window. That is music enough. If I could open the window, I would, although it's really humid out, so probably not. Alright, so that's that. And the bearing's already in there, so that's that. It looks like we're getting a bunch of small bits together again and putting small bits on the small bits only to finalize. Okay, so this bearing is pushed in with Loctite. Great. Yes, the screws are in there. Wunderbar. Then we need this. So this, I can tell you right now, is going to be where the shaft goes onto the frames. So it's pretty much what we're getting ready for here. Take these bags, throw them out. That is a lot of aluminum bits. So there's 1, 2, 3 unique aluminum bits here. So now that we have all those out, it doesn't tell us what to do with them yet still. Now we take the box. It looks like boom clamp assembly. This thing is sealed. It's interesting. Well, it was sort of sealed. Alright, so boom. Is that right? Box 2, back 7. Yep. Box 2, back 7. Stiffeners. And the boom goes inside of there like that. That's cool. We've got pulley guide. That's for the belt. Cool. Pop that out. And then we've got some pins. Oh my goodness. What? Okay, so the pulley guide. That's what that's for. Those are bearings. So that's going to go. That is going to go inside of here. And obviously these pins are going to be suspended in this somehow. I don't see how that comes apart. I guess these are very long screws. Doesn't seem like they're very long. I suppose they have to be though. No, not very. But the picture doesn't show them installed yet, so we'll take all of these screws out. To keep these straight, I am just going to set these right by their stiffeners. They look all identical. I don't expect that there's anything super special about any of that. Even with pulling these screws out, it's still simpler and easier than pulling them out of a bag. You think you've got to have a bag with another marker. It's just more waste. Sometimes I build these new helicopters like the SABs, and my goodness, the bags. I'll show that one day. I mean, I could open a small U-line distribution center with the bags. I've never counted them, but it's a lot. Okay, so instead of pulling it completely apart, wondering what I've got. Oh, I see. The pulley guides go on the inside here. Cool. And the press. Okay, so they kind of pop in. So these slide out. Okay, nothing scary there. So these are a press fit, it looks like. There's no up or down that I can tell. They don't mention up or down. And the bearings in there are pre-assembled as the instructions state. Oh my goodness, that's going to be tight, it seems. Let's use a little bit of plierage. Just a bit. Oh, good, that popped right in very easily. Given how these will go on either side of the belt, they pop in, but it doesn't need like super tension because well, they're encapsulated and it's going on either side of a belt that will have tension, so they're constantly being pushed into their housing. So awesome. Looks like this goes right back into together here. And all of this right there, all these aluminum bits, it's just showing all the screws. So I'll take the screws off when I need to actually install them onto the thing they're being installed onto, which is now. Okay, so we have the boom clamp assembly, we'll set that aside. The battery tray, we set that aside. Now the frame sides. We are getting right into this build. We'll go ahead and pull, there's only one piece left in there, so we'll set that out. All right, my pre-sanded frame sides that won't cut me. Wonderful. All right, so actually, now that I look at it, the frame sides, does it have the screws in there already? No, it does not. Where are the screws for this? I'm not going to worry about that at this particular moment because I have a million screws already for this thing. Oh, I see where they are. That's what these are. Button cap screws and button capped screws, and they're threading, self-threading, self-tapping. These are M2 by 6. I can just tell by looking at it that is 6 millimeter long. I'm actually going to start there because it's plastic and forgiving. We'll get the logo on the front lower part, the frame like so. Oh, cool. It locks in, does it? Oh, because of the rubber straps for the battery. So it goes through the carbon fiber frame and then locks into position, and then the screws go in like that. So steel screws into plastic do not need thread lock at all. Put the little beady washer on, as some like to call it. I suppose that is what it is, realistically, when you get down to it. Dress washer, finishing washer. All right. We're going to do a one-side approach here. The manual shows, well, just like what I'm doing here. This side, we're going to install everything onto this side. It makes life a little easier. You don't build both sides at the same time. Hopefully that will be obvious momentarily. Okay, so now we know what those are for. There's that. So I suppose I could put the boom clamp on. Well, I don't have to, it doesn't matter. All right, so this part is a third bearing block, I can't speak, third bearing block assembly. It's what the main shaft is going to go through. I don't see a front or back, left, right. This looks completely symmetrical. There is a top or bottom. The open side of the bearing is up. The shaft will go this way. The closed side is at the bottom, so the bearing can't push through. So we're just going to, I'm going to install it like this. So I'm only going to take out 2 screws on one side, and I'll set those 2 screws directly in front of me because I have all sorts of screws and washers out now. Set that there. Let's take thread lock on 1 screw. All I'm doing is putting that on there and then taking my fingernail and holding onto the washer. You've probably seen me do it 10 or 15 times already. That is just a habit of mine. It helps keep the screw from flying off, and yes, it has happened plenty before, which is why I developed that method. I'm sure plenty of people do the exact same thing. Pop it on, hold it on with your fingernail, screw and washer, thread lock. Now this is going through carbon fiber into aluminum. I don't really need to wipe off the excess. It's not going anywhere except for where it needs to be. It's just a bit of a habit to wipe off excess. And this is pretty much getting screwed in all the way. Part of the reason why we're doing one side. All right, so that's tight. Good, good, good. Now we will do the middle bearing block assembly. And it looks like it goes this way. That does make sense. So the open part of the bearing is going to go down, and the gear, the pulley and everything, is going to go in between there. So it's actually going to have something pushing up on it. Cool. Looks like it's just 2 screws here. Yep, seems like it. And what's nice about this thread lock, the blue thread lock, unlike red, blue is easy to take off and reapply. It's not a big deal. If you put the wrong screw in or need to take it back out, it's not a big deal. Just pop the screw out, change it, and then reapply thread lock. If it's red, that's permanent. Now it takes a while for it to fully cure, I believe like a whole day. But if you have to take out red thread lock, you're probably going to be pulling out a butane torch and very good tools, because you will strip your tools out very easily. And on small stuff like this, well, you just do not use red, because it will literally be permanent. You will completely strip absolutely everything out. The screw itself will completely obliterate before you remove the red thread lock. So blue it is. Okay, There we are. Upper bearing block assembly. Now there is an OXY there. I'm going to guess that is, oh, this is Tareq edition right there. Cool. From the picture, looks like it goes this way with the writing up. Yep, that makes sense. There's probably going to be something like a little lock thing that goes right there, because here is the shaft and the swash plate. So 2 screws again, the outside screws. Set those in front of me. When I sat down to build tonight, I literally had no idea how long it would be. I was thinking, maybe 45 minutes. I think we've doubled that already. But once I get started on this, like, the time just stops. And it's just interesting, and I'm having fun. And it's the weekend. I do not have to consider time. I have no clock near me. I do not care. And I started relatively early. So it is no concern of mine. I have no plans, nowhere I have to be, no one I have to see, nothing I must do beyond what I want to do. Okay, so 3 bearing blocks, battery tray. Now the breakaway canopy assembly. I see now what they mean by that. So it's a very minimal design, so that if you smash, crash, whatever, the canopy will be like a crumple zone almost. It's not to save the canopy, it's to be a crumple zone. So this will bust fairly easily in a good wreck. And it looks like it goes like so, with the hole down. Alright, so we'll take that out. These 2 screws. Ein und zwei. And we will thread lock this. With thread lock, not so. With nitro helicopters, you get vibration obviously from a single piston engine. I mean, it's going to vibrate the absolute crazy out of it. With electric helicopters, vibration isn't a major issue. There's always some vibration with moving, spinning parts. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the name of the field would be to study vibrations is. Anyway, I guess an engineer would study that, but I doubt it's significant, or at least it shouldn't be. If there's significant vibrations, there's something's wrong. You should fix it. But in any case, there's always some. So you thread lock everything. And again, of course, like I mentioned, we don't tighten these screws a whole lot. So it's not impossible for them to work their way out. Cool. We're getting a structure here. So I think that is all of that part. Next is the motor mount and the boom squeezy thing. So the bearing, or the belt ride thing, is on the inside, which means there's only one way up, right? Or is this symmetrical? This looks symmetrical. Yeah, that's completely symmetrical. All of the different bits, yeah, that's symmetrical. So we're going to have 4 screws with 2 of the tensioners. I really hope the camera can catch most of this, because I am not going to redo this, am I? That would be absolute insanity. This is a 1-take build. There will not be a second take, and whatever I have is what's being uploaded, period. Alright, so yes, thread lock. I glanced up at the instructions hoping it got thread locked, but I noticed that there's metal inserts inside of this plastic boom clamp. So yes, always metal to metal gets thread lock. Doesn't need a ton, but it does need some. And since we're going directly through carbon fiber into the metal bit, I'm not worried about the excess. There's nowhere for it to go except for where it needs to be. Alright, I'm not going to make this super tight just yet. Just get it all on there. I really like those tensioners because obviously, yes, they look cool, but it just shows attention to detail and engineering. You want the boom clamp to be plastic. You want it to be forgiving, but you know that sacrifices strength. But to keep the boom clamp assembly, which is injection molded, which is not cheap. In fact, injection molding realistically is far more expensive than cutting a part with CNC. CNC is a program, whereas injection molding, you're making a permanent mold, which takes a lot of engineering. Yeah, you cut it with a CNC, but still there's a lot of engineering involved in making a mold. So there we are. I believe that is complete up to this point. That is... Oh, it's funny. Do not fully tighten yet. Yep. Okay, I guess I've done this once or twice before. There's a lot of... it doesn't matter what size the heli. They're very similar when you build these. So there's a motor... Oh, the motor mount. That's what I'm missing. Yep. Where is the motor mount? I do not see it. I don't know. Say it says... Well... Oh, it's in my foam tray. Motor mount. Oh, and I never noticed there is a stiffener on either side. How cool is that? It's machined so well, and the part is... The colors match so perfectly. I didn't even realize there's a separate part on there. Okay, so motor mount is asymmetrical. 3 holes, the third going forward. It's going to go in like this, and that is adjustable, so we're not going to put any thread lock on this at the moment. Darn it, the screen. One of these days I'll make a video at my computer and the screen won't go off. And you guys will wonder why I procrastinated so long. I literally don't even think of it until I sit down and it goes off the first time, and then I remember. And it's like a 20-second thing. But I just can't be bothered, I suppose. So that's very cool. That is, well, let's loosen it up a bit so I can demonstrate. That is an adjustable motor mount with a tensioner on the outside of it, or stiffener, rather, not tensioner. Very cool. Very nicely engineered. Nice way to do it. Instead of just having the screws there with washers, you actually have a stiffener that is its own washer. So, you know, that's way stronger than just 2 fat washers, which I would have been happy with. I mean, that's what everyone does, right? But that is over-engineered, I'd say. But in this case, it's so light and so well done. I mean, very well done. Super pleased. Okay, so all we have left is the other side of the canopy mount, the 2 stiffeners, and the screws for that. So very clean. Next step, the other side. I thought, oh, wait a minute. Normally, okay, it has us installing the shaft all by itself. Okay. I swear something's going to be wrong. Something's not going to... Let's look at this. I'm suspect now. So far, they've thought of everything. Yeah, that collar is removable, so the shaft will just slide in. Okay, normally there's some kind of way where you have to, you know, do something special, but no, looks like they thought of everything. So we're just going to install the other side. Whatever. Okay. Either way, it's still easier to install one side at a time. So now that I have it laying like this, I have these 4 screws and these 4 screws. You know, I wonder if they're all the same. They might very well be all the same. We're going to compare. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but I wonder. Like, they could all be different sizes, which was what I was so happy, why I was so happy to see them already screwed in here from the factory, so that you don't have to guess which screw goes where. But I'm curious, does it actually matter in this particular build? See, not only is the fun build, but, you know, you just get excited to see what the thing is going to look like when it's done. Okay, yeah, well, without getting out digital calipers, they're all the same size. Whatever. Still, though, I'm not poo-pooing the idea of doing one side at a time. I just thought there might be a reason, especially for the year 2018, a lot of helicopters weren't as refined as this one is. I built helicopters in 2018, and they weren't as refined as this. I mean, you know, more expensive helicopters than this, and of course much larger. But this has been very well engineered, surprisingly so. Of course, it wasn't cheap, you know. I mean, none of them are. I don't know what its release price was when it came out. I mean, there is a website that I have saved in my bookmarks. I can't think of the name, but it's like a complete RC history compendium, and it often includes the price of from the original year. That, I think we'll look at the summary, like maybe on the last video. Final thoughts on this helicopter. We'll not worry about it right now. Okay, there's the battery mount. So we are thread locking. I really hope I don't have to pull this off again. I mean, honestly, it's not going to hurt anything if you do, but I prefer to do something once, if at all possible. And you might have noticed I just used technically the wrong screw, but they're all the same size. We'll double check that. Yeah, they're all the same size, which is nice. That's cool. I'm not going to say a brand in particular, but I swear there's one brand that uses 80 different size screws. I can't imagine why in the world anyone would ever do that. Why? Well, I guess we can all imagine why an engineer would do that, but that's beside the point. But yeah, just guys, pick a couple of different screw sizes. We don't need to engineer down to the microgram of strength. Like, you know, find a middle ground and pick a couple and go with it. I mean, maybe it's a crazy idea to engineer around a screw, but there have been crazier ideas than that. Okay. Well, obviously that's a lot easier to do when they're all already installed on one side. All right. We'll do all these up with a bit of proper tension. How cool is that? Oh, that's right, that's not screwed in yet. That's why it popped. All right, the motor mount. No thread lock. just loosely screwed in for the moment. Oh, I forgot. I just remembered something. I forgot I remembered something. Funny story. This is my first OLED monitor. So this monitor is true OLED, organic light emitting display. And I actually did remember, now that I recall, I did remember to, how does that, oh, I see. Well, I'm not going to install this yet because the boom, yeah, did I thread lock these? I did thread lock these. So these I'm just going to leave off completely because until I get the boom installed, which is probably the next step. Anyway, this monitor is OLED. So I forgot the last video I made when I mentioned I was going to change the screen off protector thing, screen off time. I remembered, oh yeah, this is an OLED. I don't want to turn that off and then forget about it later and, you know, damage my screen or burn in whatever. Now, modern monitors, OLED monitors, are vastly superior to the old days of, you know, burned in stuff on OLED monitors. However, it does not mean they are impervious to burn-in. So, even though this monitor is very new, I still want to leave on its default protection against burn-in because, you know, knowing me, or knowing anything, knowing Murphy's Law, I turn off the screen protector and then someone knocks at the door and then 6 hours later I come back in here and forget my screen is still on static text and I cry myself to sleep. So we're not going to do that. We will leave that there. Alright, so install main shaft with frame assembly. Okay. It doesn't tell you anything about the lock collar. I guess it just assumes you're going to take it off. It may say something in the instructions about taking it off. I don't need to find it. We can figure it out. So I can't tell what's up or down, although it could be symmetrical. Huh. Interesting. I have no idea. Oh, I see what they're saying. They're saying put the shaft in and then tighten all the screws so that, I see what they're saying. Although, yeah, I didn't do that, but it's perfectly fine. Like I mean, it's well engineered, and I guess I just accidentally had it kind of straight. The way I assembled this too, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't tension it when I was screwing things together. I kept everything very neutral. So yeah, there's literally no tension at all. That just, yeah. If there was any misalignment or tension, the shaft would have trouble going through the bearing blocks. But yeah, nope, that's perfect. So we take that out. That's just temporary. And then, oh, it's time for the motor. Sweet. So we have, now I haven't soldered the motor wires yet. I'm not too worried about that. In fact, I may stop here pretty soon because I haven't soldered the motor wires. But we'll keep going a little bit. It does already have the flat spot on the motor shaft. So that's cool, I don't have to do that. The pinion, the motor pulley. So we've got motor screws. And so this is going to be 4S. You can do 3S or 4S. And yeah, we'll do the smaller pinion because we are going for higher voltage. And it goes on this way. We'll have to loosen the screw a bit. The grub screw on the pinion gear. I'm not going to thread lock it at this moment. Just going to tighten on just a little, just to find its basic herm. Alright, so the motors, they say the wires will go forward. Yeah, keep the motor wires pointing forward. Ooh, I don't like the way that... I guess we just flatten them out. That's pretty much what you do normally. Still doesn't. No, I don't like that at all. That is not good. So there's a significant lip here. It wants me to put the motor like that. That is... I think we're just going to... Well, no, I can't do that because the main gear goes there. How do they want this to go? I'm going to skip forward on the instructions here and test. That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to have to skip forward a whole lot to see what they want. Yeah, they show the motor wires going forward. Well, I'll tell you what. I think I have an idea. I'm trying to put the motor wires forward and up. Rather, let's go back down again and slide it in between the frame and the battery tray. And perhaps that would be ideal. Oh, actually, yeah. The motor wires aren't like directly in the middle forward. They go up to the side. Okay, there we go. And then the motor screws, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, you know, so after I screw in this motor here, I think I'm going to take a break because my back is a little creaky from sitting here this whole time. And I'm getting a little impatient just because I've been sitting here for about 2 hours now. So let's just take the motor mount out completely. Let's see what we have here. So 2 screws on either side and then 1 in the center. Oh, it lines up perfectly. So this motor, like I said, is made. I mean, it's in the advertisement when you look on the website. So yeah, it's made for this helicopter. Okay, so we are going to Loctite or thread lock this on there, and I'm going to put a healthy bit. This is going through a fat aluminum block into the motor. I've got the center one first. Oh, I just saw something though. Does that mean that the grub screw for the pinion is inaccessible once it's attached to the motor block? It looks like that's the case. If so, that's... Let's see. Yeah. So, oh, nope. No, it's not. It's not accessible. So I'm going to check the instructions here carefully and see. It does give a measurement. And since I'm going to do a little trusting here, which, you know, all of these steps I'm taking are undoable, or yeah, redoable. It's not... I'm trying to think of an example that's undoable or unremovable. Anyway, set in stone. I'm going to trust the dimensions of the motor and the diagram. I'm not going to break out the digital calipers. I'm just going to set it the best I can, because my motor looks like the picture. Even though my motor isn't the one in the picture, the measurements look the same. So that's on there pretty well. Now this is a steel pinion on a steel motor shaft with a steel grub screw. So while I didn't show it necessarily, I put a pretty good general amount a generous amount of thread lock on there, and I actually screwed it in pretty good. So we're going to get the motor mounted to the motor block, or the motor mount, with all 3 screws. I actually expected this to only have 2 screws, being so small, but they want this thing to be secure, and that's pretty cool. That fits in with the rest of the engineering on this so far. Just very robust without adding extra weight. I mean, this is one more screw instead of 2. It's insignificant, but yeah, they want this thing to perform, that's for sure, and last. So all 3 screws. I'm going to not go crazy, but those are much larger screws than everything else we've seen so far. You can actually put a little tension on it. All right, that is in there tightly. That screw is not really accessible. You'd have to tear the aluminum up a little bit to get in there. Yeah, so we will screw this back in. Again, not thread lock yet. You know, it's not done up. So this motor isn't pulling a belt. It's going to be a gear mesh. So, you know, this thing will pretty much be fully assembled before that mesh is set. So I won't be thread locking that until such time. Oh, I did that all wrong. You can see I'm getting tired because I'm starting to make silly mistakes and miss screw holes, and I probably sound like I'm getting tired as well. And I'm just way off there. Okay. I am going to finish this, but then it's time for a break. And by break, I mean I'm not going to do any more tonight. I will just admire this for a moment, finish the video, and we'll stop. Although I might install the boom. I kind of would like to see, you know, the basic structure, even without the landing skids. I'd kind of like to see, like, I don't have to screw it together necessarily. All right, so they're tight, and then I'm just backing off a little bit so I can move it around easily. How cool is that? That's cool. That is an X Nova XTS in that tiny little frame. And then the wires, that's a lot cleaner than I thought. So I still have to solder these, but you know, they're very easily accessible still. And I can just, that's just 4 screws. I can pop it right out when I need to. But that is so cool. And that is a very smooth motor. All right, let's just check this out. All we have to do is slide the belt into the clamp. Make sure it's turned the right way. Pull the belt through. And then the boom, with some tension, will slide right in. And that, hey, that's not too small at all. That's good size. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's, I was picturing much smaller. This is a good size heli. Yeah. I mean, I know the blades are 285 millimeters, but that doesn't really tell you too much about the body till it's done. Anywho, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's cool. Looks like the servos will go 1, 2, and then 1 right there. That's cool. The servo is dedicated. So let's just glance at this real quick. Yep, they fit right in there, no problem. So it'll be 1 and 2 and 1 there. Very cool. Okay, so this is going to sit right here. I'll pull that back out until the next time. Make sure I have everything straight because I'm not going to touch this at all until I restart the build. So cap off our thread lock, and we'll put our tools up a little bit. And the screws and all that, we'll keep them with their components. And that's all there is. It's just the tail boom case and tensioners and 4 screws right there. We got a shaft and this collar, anti-rotation bracket, and that's it. We've thrown out all the trash. Make sure all our tools are together. I don't like to leave tools and everything all just laying around everywhere. I prefer to have everything in their case, in their home, clean and ready to go for the next time. So that, hey, I'm happy with that. And we got a lot done. That didn't take too long. Okay. You know, I think that's it. See ya.